go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chisme and Chill. I am Bianca, and this is my co-host,
Liliana.
And if you missed the first episode, which you should totally go and watch, but if you missed the first episode, basically this is a segment where we are going to be talking about whatever we want, anything from movies and TV shows. Last week we talked about season 3 of You, to social issues and other things that we think are interesting. So today we're going to be talking about the I Don't Dream of Labor movement, which is something that I have seen on YouTube for quite a while. It's been circulating, and I think there's just a general sentiment with people that they are moving away from productivity culture, from overworking, from grind mindsets, and it's kind of manifested in this movement. And so that's what we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, but don't worry, we're going to also do something really fun. We thought since this is kind of a more serious topic, we were going to balance it out while getting in season and doing some gingerbread houses. And so you can tell us which one you like the most at the end, but this is definitely a competition.
Yeah.
I've deemed it a competition.
She really wants it to be a competition. And this is actually code for Liliana wanted to make gingerbread houses, and I was the only one who would do it with her.
Yeah, definitely. That is definitely what it was code for.
Okay. Ready?
Just a waiver too. We're not going to get super political. I know if you didn't see the first episode, we are both in law school, but I kind of wanted to approach this from a different standpoint, more of a just, let's talk about the issue and talk about it overall, but not get too much into politics. That's not why we're here.
Yeah, and I just really wanted to talk about it because I have critiques. I have things that I agree with, but I definitely have a lot of critiques. And so it was something that kind of bothered me when I would see it.
So what do you think? Tell us what you think.
I think that it's a very privileged position to come from, to say that you do not dream of labor. There was a really good video by a creator, and I honestly forgot her name, but it was a great video, and in it she said it's a very, she analyzed the phrase, I don't, right? I don't. It has a lot of agency, it has a lot of choice, and I really agree with that. You really have to be someone who has a certain level of financial freedom to really talk about this. And I know that there are different takes, as opposed to, what am I trying to say? They saying oh, just move away from being really into your job, which I kind of agree with more. I don't think that we need to be so into our jobs, but I still think that we should love what we do and we should pursue careers that make us happy.
Yeah, definitely. I think of it more as kind of a, I agree that I do think it's kind of a privileged position to come from. But I also think it's, instead of talking about it in this way, we really have to be talking about the culture that we're in and the culture that we're promoting and the virtues that we're promoting, So a lot of other countries, I'm Hispanic, and a lot of different places kind of put a value on family and, community and spending time together. Whereas I think everyone kind of knows the American culture is very centered around the individual. It's really centered around what does each person want to pursue and putting their own values and their own needs before anyone else, right?
Exactly.
And so I think that's kind of where the conversation starts. How is yours coming together so well?
I'm really struggling, honestly. No, I definitely agree. Whenever I'm in Mexico, I am also Hispanic. And whenever I'm in Mexico visiting family, it's a very different experience. I noticed from a very young age. No, it fell apart. See? I noticed from a very young age that the culture was just completely different surrounding work, surrounding productivity, surrounding individualism. It was really about family and community. And I've never felt that here.
Yeah, definitely. I think I get the sentiment, right? So I think I agree. Nobody really dreams of of working, right? So, I mean, I do think people have dream jobs and things like that, but you shouldn't wake up every day when you're little, you don't think, oh my gosh, what job am I going to do? And that's not the most exciting thing in the world. But it's not really about that. What we do dream about? We dream about stability. We dream about, having the time to have a family and do the things that, you want to prioritize. But I don't know. I feel like it's a lot more than just dreaming about labor. It's about what you think is important.
No, I agree. It's not. To me, a job is a vehicle, right? And we kind of talked about this when we were talking about coming from families that, like, they really wanted us to get degrees. That was really important. Like, I'm first gen. No one in my family has ever been to college and not law school here in the States. And so, like, that is a big deal. And it's about stability. That was what my dad would always say. He's like, I don't have a degree. And, you know, this is really important. I have nothing to fall back on. Whatever you do after this, you're going to have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
And so I think that I don't know. I think also on YouTube, there's kind of this movement against education and against going to college. And, you know, college isn't the right path for everyone. It's truly not. And I would never say that it is. But I think that actively promoting not getting education in any way, technical school, cosmetology, like actively promoting not doing something that will help you get better jobs is kind of a negative thing, because what are you going to do without that, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and it's just kind of, you know, I think it's discounting the people who really are coming. This is not working out well.
It's really not.
But who are coming to college, like, as the first person in their family, and how important that is, and how, you know, it's not really about the fact that they're getting X or Y job. It's about the fact that they're improving their family, right? And so to kind of discount that idea of, like, we need to do things to better ourselves and better our community is kind of missing the point for me.
Yeah, and it is a community thing. Like, it very much is not just a family thing. It is a community thing. When you have communities that are just whole groups of people that they're underrepresented in certain fields, it's important.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't wake up one day and I was like, you know, I'm going to be a lawyer. This is what I dream of. This is going to be the best thing in the world. It wasn't really about that. This was something that I love, and I have a lot of interest, right? I could have gone and done something else that I would have been equally as happy with. But, you know, it does add a lot of, you know, variables. You can be able to go and experience more. It gives you resources to be able to do more. It allows you to kind of still pursue the passion you want in a different way. Like, I'm not trying to, you know, I don't want to change the entire world. I don't think I could. I'm not that cool. But I do want to promote, you know, what I want to do in the law, and I want to help people and be able to do that in the way that I can.
Yeah, and I think, okay, so let's focus on the positive a little bit. I think that one of the things that has come out of COVID and has come out of this idea in general, the Great Resignation, so many things that are happening around work and work culture, is that I really think that people are kind of moving away from toxic productivity. Now, is it
toxic workplace? Kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, is it maybe being replaced by a different kind of toxic productivity of, like, that girl aesthetic and vibey and always making everything look, you know, whatever. Yeah. Which is another different thing. But I think that it's a benefit. It's a benefit that people are no longer crying about, like, saying that you need to be in grind mode and hustle culture all the time.
Yeah, I think this shift kind of goes to, it really is this big shift in mental health, right? And mental health awareness and promoting, you know, what's best for you and your mental health and things. And I do love, I mean, I love anything about psychology, but this shift of, like, this isn't just it's not in your head thing. Like, everyone's going through it. And I think once you kind of recognize that, it becomes just easier to accept in society, right? And so I think the idea that we're shifting away from that is a good start, but I think it proves the point that this whole anti-labor or I don't dream of labor isn't really about the job. It's about promoting the mindset and promoting the happiness of people, you know? Yeah. And so it's not about, oh my gosh, I need this job or I need to work, right? And if it's, you're forgetting that, like, it's so much more than work. You can enjoy what you do. You can also just use what you do to be able to do the things that you enjoy, right?
That's a big thing. Having a job that allows you to have the financial security to do what you want to do in your free time, in your off time.
Yeah. You got to have the resources, you know?
You truly
if you don't have the resources, then good luck. And I think that's why we came back to this idea of it is kind of a elite way of thinking, because a lot of people don't have the resources to do this, you know? Mm-hmm. The best quote that I've ever heard, it was actually a family member of mine who said, when you're young, you have the time, but you don't have the money. And when you're old, you have the money, but you don't have the time, right? And I think that's kind of the whole labor force is like, you got to be able to work to be able to do the things you want, but you also need to prioritize those things, right?
Right. I think working for, living for work as opposed to working in order to live the life that you want to live, right?
Yeah.
I will say another thing that I kind of think about is just, it's not feasible, it's not possible, it's not sustainable for us to no longer work. You know, everything in life that most people value comes from working. Food.
Definitely.
Just general, who's keeping the lights on and who's keeping buildings clean, who is doing all these things. You know, there's so many jobs that you don't even think about that are so important. And
what are you how are you supposed to build community, right? So a lot of your community is based off of who you're with and who you kind of spend your time with. So I kind of worry, just like I worry for kids nowadays who are so obsessed with their, you know, technology that they have in front of them, that they tend to forget the real world going on, you know? So if we're promoting moving on and not really caring about work at all, well, then you got to also think about the communities that you're losing.
Yeah, and I also just think that what people want isn't actually, I never want to work again. They just want a society that doesn't base their whole value on working.
Yeah. And that comes back to, it's really about promoting mental health and psychology and our community values, as opposed to just getting rid of the workforce. I think people kind of tend to just overuse this anti-labor, establishment kind of thing and make it into something that it's not.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that if you look at all of those more socialist countries that I think a lot of people who support this movement want to be more like, right? So that's kind of what they desire, is a more socialist country, which we're not saying anything for or against that. But it's just if you look at it, obviously people are still doing their jobs. They're still working. Yeah. It's just that the community, the culture is different.
And you know what? Some people love to work. And, more power to them. That's awesome. If you wake up and the most exciting thing in your day is that you want to go to work, that's super cool. That's not me. But,
right?
I mean, I'm going to do the stuff that I want to do. And, I'm excited to do what I want to do for my career. But to say, I think people kind of go overboard and they're like, well, you also need to spend time only doing what you love. Well, I mean, that's not how everyday reality works, right? Sometimes you just got to do stuff you don't love, and there's going to be some days even the things that you love are going to suck. Yeah, and that's just how it is.
There are people who do things careers that they love and they don't love it every single day.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that's true.
No, yeah. So what do you think about kind of the idea of just moving away from, I guess this take away from the we don't dream of labor thing, then what do you think the solution is to some of the things they're proposing?
I mean, I think the solution is, and maybe this is not a very popular way to say this, because I think that there are so many structural changes that need to be done for so many different issues, policing and racism and welfare programs. There are so many structural issues. I am a mess right now.
I am definitely a mess.
No, I am way more messy.
No, my star.
There are so many structural changes that need to take place and need to happen. But I do think that there are cultural changes that can happen too. And I think that those things are often overlooked when we look at the grand scheme of all of the things that need to be done,
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the people aren't the problem. And yeah, for the most part, like, people aren't generally the problem, in my opinion. Like, I feel like structural things are more important, but something like this, and, you know, it's not feasible, I guess, for every single person to be like, I'm gonna take my work less seriously.
Yeah. But I think, like, it's about kind of promoting the mentality of people on an everyday basis, right? So I think this idea came from, you know, a lot of people really are unhappy, and we can't discount that. But what I'm saying is that first of all, I'm a huge proponent that everyone should go to therapy. If you don't go to therapy, you really should at some point in your life. Well, you can go, you should go, you know? Like, I think it's super helpful just because I think a lot of people don't know who they are, right? I don't know who I am. And even adults half the time don't know who they are. I mean, adults, I guess technically we're adults.
We're adults,
unfortunately. But you know what I mean? Like, you need to be making the steps to kind of improve yourself as well. So I think sometimes people like to blame, I guess, not necessarily blame society, but like kind of want other people to create the solutions for them as well. But like, honestly, I mean, you got to do some inside work as well.
Yeah. I also just want to point out that this is an unfair competition because Liliana has told me on multiple occasions that she has extensive piping experience. So,
experience?
That's what you said. You said you decorate cakes or something.
I do like to decorate cakes, but I don't know if that means piping experience.
Is that not piping? What is that?
You know what? I don't know. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
That's what I assumed when
honestly,
you said it.
piping did not sound good the way you made it. I was like, I don't know what piping is, but
it's called piping, is it not?
Is it?
I thought it was called like piping. Is it not? What is it called?
Frosting? I don't know.
It's a specific technique where you use like the little pipe tubes.
I just say decorating.
Well, she says decorating. I'm saying this because look at me. You can't look at me if you're listening, but anyway, back to the topic.
Yeah.
I don't remember where we were.
No, kind of lost me for a second there.
Yeah, I was just
the piping comment.
I just think that, I don't know, I think that there is a lot that can be changed. And I think I agree. Like, I feel like I'm coming off as very pessimistic. I truly agree. I don't want to live to work. And I don't think that people should have to live to work.
No, yeah, definitely.
Or work. Yeah, live to work. But I think that a lot of this could be changed if we changed American culture, American mindsets. You know, like we were saying, in Mexico, in most of Latin America, it's not really like this.
Yeah, like they take breaks in the middle of the day to go have lunch and stuff and do. Like, they promote these things. I think a lot of the frustration isn't necessarily with, you know, the political issues. It's actually just a change in society overall. Which I guess, in theory, can go back to political issues, but
I mean, it can go back to political issues just because, you know, like, people who aren't making enough at their job have to work more because they're not making enough at their job because of those things. So I understand that totally.
And you definitely can't discount that, right? So it's like, we get that. We definitely get that there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of systemic things as well. But I just think it's really, I think creating this, you know, I don't dream of labor movement is actually taking away from the argument sometimes. Like, I think other people look at it and they're just like, oh, it's these Gen Zers or these millennials who don't want to work, and so they don't know about what it's like to actually work, right? When it's, in reality, they're making good points, but you can't make a point if no one's listening, you know?
Yeah. And I will say, I feel like you have a tendency to discount someone who is not only younger and doesn't have a lot of work experience, but just like someone who comes from a position that you know is vastly different than people who are really struggling.
Yeah.
You know? Like, even us, like, we're in a very different position and we will never have those perspectives.
Yeah, definitely. Like, don't discount, like, we definitely know, even just being able to be in law school is a privileged position, such a privilege. Right? And we worked hard and to get here and everything like that, but there's just so much more to the story that people discount because they hear the title or they hear who's involved and they're like, oh, okay, like, It's just here they go again.
Here we go again.
Oh my goodness, I'm just realized that I made the horrible mistake of forgetting that we have red
icing?
Yeah.
I'm scared of the red icing because it's a disaster over here.
I need the red icing. It's important to my look.
It's safe to say, if you are not watching this and you're just listening, Liliana is winning.
Am I?
You truly are.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
It looks very cute. I'm just putting icing and I'm putting candy on it. And it's going to look bad, but it'll be fine. It's eclectic. It's the kooky old lady's house.
It's a kooky old lady's house?
Yeah, it's my house when I'm old. I'm ready to be old. I do think that in a way I kind of agree too, just because I am scared of like living a life where, and like I don't want to live this life, right? But I am scared that it could happen where you just live a life where you don't truly enjoy what you're doing and you don't have time for family and for friends. And I think that's a scary thought.
That's what I'm saying. It's about a shift in mentality.
Yeah.
You know, like it's really not about working per se. It's about shifting the community's values.
It really does have to be a community shift though. And that's the only thing, is that one person can't simply do that. Because if you think about, so we're in law school, and if you don't know anything about law school, there's kind of a big divide between, are you going to do big law, which is working at a really large law firm and you make a lot of money.
Fantastic.
Or you do public interest, which is another great thing to do, but you make significantly less money and you're working,
fantastic.
To help people and help the community. Both of them have benefits. Both of them have drawbacks. But one of the things is just big law. The stereotype is, whether or not this is true, we don't know, but the stereotype is that you work a lot. And there's really no way to escape that unless the entire culture shifts around that, right? Like, and that's for a lot of jobs. Unless the entire culture shifts around it, how are you as one person going to say, I'm going to take less time with my job? But you're risking like not giving the promotions, not getting the raises, or even being fired.
Yeah. And I think it also discounts like people's experiences, right? So like if you're a single parent or if you have to go work for your family, right? Like to provide and help or do whatever it is, you need that validation that it's okay, right? I think that that's the problem, is like you shouldn't have to be validated by making your life choices, right? Like it should be okay, whatever you choose, but then you have people kind of pushing back and being like, oh, well, we shouldn't support it at all. But is it really an option at that point if you need to do it?
Yeah. And also like people are going to judge you though, no matter what you do.
100%.
If you are... Again, this is a law school thing, but if you are doing big law, then people who are doing public interest will be judgmental. Not everyone. I'm not saying everyone is, but people definitely have been.
Like, we're not judging you. You know what? You go get your money. That's cool. Go do your job.
Exactly. But it's definitely, you will encounter people who will be judgmental towards you. And I just feel like no matter what, you're not going to win. But I've also, talked to people who are doing public interest and have said, their families are kind of disapproving of it, like kind of saying, oh, you did all this schooling, you paid all this money, and you're going to make how much?
Yeah. And I think people kind of get, especially with some of the videos and things that I've read on this movement, is that they're kind of like, well, you're still contributing to the problem. So what's the alternative? I guess that's my question, is what am I supposed to do, right? It was important for me to go to school and do these things, and it was really a happy moment for my family, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could have gone to trade school. I could have done a whole bunch of other things, and like all of those things are valid, but that's your choice, right? And that was something that I didn't choose. I didn't really want. And so if we're moving away from this, promoting capitalism and things like that, then what's the alternative? What do we want to do? What are we promoting as a society, and how are we going to get there?
And like the thing is, there's so much of, like, I know we all hate capitalism nowadays, right? Like that's the trend.
Yeah.
There's only so much better it can get. Maybe that's really pessimistic. I don't know. But I mean, what more is there? Like I said earlier, we need people to do work, and there are a lot of jobs out there that are really hard, and that's something that we should focus more on, is like fixing terrible labor conditions and things like that, you know?
Yeah. I think we just have to be careful with the way that we classify things, right? So calling whether this movement was meant to be something good or not, it kind of has been really brought down in the aspect of what change it could make.
So I think that was really what we wanted to talk about. I feel like that kind of covered it.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's so many things you could talk about. Obviously, we're not going to be able to talk about all of them. And again, this is just like our personal opinions on kind of how the movement is working and whether it's working or not. Yeah. But, you know, I think there's a lot of things to consider. And so if you're part of the movement or want to be part of the movement, that's great. I just think you need to think about all aspects of it, right? You got to think about
kind of think outside of yourself, outside of what you've experienced.
Yeah, and it's not about politics. It's not about anything else. It's really about what's important and you kind of what's the meaning behind it, right?
Yeah. Well,
but, yeah,
that was fun. Here are our final gingerbread houses.
Yeah, we're not done, obviously.
I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
I tried.
Yours is super cute. I love it.
I made candy canes. Mine has candy canes.
We're going to run out of time, so let's clink. Ready?
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Chisme and Chill. Oh my God, it didn't clink.
There you go.
Bye.
Bye.